to be locked or first picked, really, with these two teams, he wouldn't be surprised because both of these teams definitely love running that hero. As does, remember, Keizu. He actually likes running that old Tremble pick, and that would be interesting to see if we got some Tremble play here coming out from Keizu in this series.
Yeah, definitely. I'm actually surprised to see the blind bans come out. We have noted before that teams will actually just blind ban Tremble against its Gosu, as Keizu's mentioned. And actually, we didn't see it here in some very, very standard blind bans here, very safe and standard blind bans here. Ophelia and Tundra by its Gosu. Again, I just never really agree with blind banning that Tundra when you are in that first position. I just don't get it. That hero is so good. It provides so much in that solo role, as much and even more so than that with the Hawk.
Yeah.
Lots of it just provides so much with very, very little farm. Just great starting stats as well. Hellborn also goes ahead and bans that Tundra, as well as the Tempest, something that we actually don't see banned very often. We do see Ophelia banned quite frequently, but don't see Tempest banned that often. In fact, we see Tempest locked quite frequently. And then the locks have started. Its Gosu starts off with the Glacius lock, a hero that's been first picked, actually Complexity first picked it every single game, I believe, yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, if they didn't first pick it, they picked it the first time they could. And then Bubbles Plague now to follow up from TT Esports.
You know, something that's actually kind of just hit me again, and we have casted, of course, TT Esports quite a bit throughout this event, as for most of the top-tier teams, of course, but early on, I remember, especially before even the group stages, TT Esports, they actually love to lock up Scout going into the locking phase. And, you know, they were one of the first teams to kind of lock that unique hero that only they could really play, or at least effectively, at least that they know of. And really, since we've cast them, really since the group stages, and of course even in this finals portion of the event, they haven't done that. So I do kind of wonder if that may be still up their sleeve of a possibility here coming out from TT Esports, or if they just simply abandoned that style of strategy, figuring that teams kind of figured it out or whatever, and not going to run the Scout anymore. It's a little bit disappointing because Scout is a fun carry here to watch, a unique one at that, but haven't seen it for a while, so but we'll see again in this series. Maybe it's still hiding in there for Slicks and bust it out. But Wild Soul and Empath to follow, so we do see the Wild Soul being locked there. And, of course, a Luna, actually, to finish off the lock phase. So, yeah, very strong lock pool yet again. A lot of supports locked in there, for that matter. It's a very strong lock support. So it's going to be interesting to see how that lock picking stage takes place. But, of course, now we're going into the bans, as Team It's Gosu going to wait on their first ban for a little bit here. But they've already used a fair amount of extra time, actually. So using their resources here. But Pebbles is going to be their first ban.
Yeah, and then we asked Zai, member, and Wild Soul was not banned in the blind banning phase, and he was locked, I believe, by its Gosu. I had to actually reconnect.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised, as he said, they would probably first pick him, and they are first pick out of that lock pick phase. So we'll have to see if they do that. There's a lot of good stuff, as you mentioned, in that lock pool. Really, really strong heroes. Very, very safe, as you mentioned, and a lot very, very support heavy as well. The bans are coming out, as you mentioned. Pebbles, first banned by Insania, Jeraziah, and the Miraxis to follow. Some of those tanky heroes and really strong, tier 1 heroes are now off the board. Torture is a hero that TT Sports really likes to play. And they also, I was going to mention, they also do like to play Miraxis. So good, they said they did their homework as far as researching what TT Sports does, and went ahead and banned that Miraxis.
Yeah. Taking care of him over there, so TT Sports, of course, not going to be able to play that. Responds with a Dark Lady ban there, coming out from TT Esports. So now one more ban ready to go on both sides. I'm eyeing that Nymphora right there. And, of course, Nymphora, with that lock pull, you got a Glacius, you got a Luna, of course, you've got Empath, I mean, even Plague Rider to an extent. So you got some strong support potential heroes there in that lock pull. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Nymphora makes it through the banning phase. And even been picked up on top of that, but you would think, I mean, as you even especially value her as just a very, very high tier pickup. So one more ban to go. It's going to be on TT Esports' hands. There you go with the Torturer ban, by the way, as you're just kind of referring to as well. So they got some decisions to make here now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those carries on the board. Dark Lady is banned, but there's still Draconis, Magebait, and Silhouette, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gosu takes Draconis out of those three available. It just seems to suit their style, I guess, a little bit more. They did go ahead and ban the Torturer. I mentioned that before, as TT Sports really loves to play Torturer. It's kind of their comfort hero. And the final ban being Fade, again, that's a hero we've seen just be very popular recently, and for good reason there. First pick is coming out for Insania. Yeah, there's a lot of options. I really do feel like, maybe they won't first pick it here, but I really do feel like they're going to pick Draconis this game.
Yeah.
I can feel it. It just seems like it suits their style once again.
Feel it in your bones.
I can.
Well, TTE Sports, of course, with banning that Fade, you would maybe think that they're going to go for that Mage Main on top of that. Again, that's what we talk about Fade a lot. And speaking of Fade as well, again, she has been more and more regarded as a higher tier hero, and actually Moon Meander, I had the chance to kind of talk with him a little bit about it, and he was kind of get his god tier list, and he brought up Tundra, and then he actually brought up Fade as well as part of that just really top of the line heroes that can just be so dominant for you if played correctly. So she is no doubt getting a lot more respect amongst the competitive scene as being that really high to even god tier hero in some minds. So. But yeah, it's Ghost, as you said. I'm not necessarily going to first pick Draconis, perhaps, but the possibility is definitely there. Nymph4 is on the board, as I was talking about, though. But no, they're going to go with Magnus, actually. Definitely, I mean, you can argue a strong first pick, but there's plenty of options on the board on top of that. So Behemoth to follow. We'll see what they finish up next year. And it's just going to be Polywalk Priest, actually, from TTE Sports.
Yeah, I really like that from TTE Sports. I don't like the early Magnus pick like that, especially with Behe on the board. Behemoth is actually very, very good against Magnus. You can cancel him out of that Steam Bath in many different ways. And I just think Behemoth... I think Magnus is much stronger when Behemoth's just not in the game. Behemoth does so much for a team. It's a very, very defensive and more of a late-game style of the Strength Stunner. You think of the Strength Stunners, there's really Magnus, Behemoth, and Hammerstorm that comes to mind. And they all have their ups and downs. Magnus, obviously, I think does a lot more with farm than Behemoth does. Granted, Behemoth is wonderful with the Portal Key, but it's much harder to farm that on him than it is in Magnus. And Magnus offers a little bit more strength if he does have that farm rule. But Magnus against Behemoth is just a little bit awkward. So I really, really liked what TTE Sports did with Behemoth and Poly. And there's that Tremble pickup, and then Legionnaire on top of that. So 3 melee already coming out. I'm interested to see what they... I mean, they could definitely work with that. It just... That's a lot of different farm on heroes, unless they decide to go for something like a support Magnus, which I don't like. But I mean, there is a Luna on the board, as well as a Bubbles to Suicide, or a Plague to Suicide, or even a Wild Soul to Suicide. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of options there in that lock pools you mentioned, as we talked about. It's a very powerful lock pool, but you're at the 3 melee, and you see Chubby Chris too. He was right-clicking that Draconis for a while, ever since you really talked about it. But sure enough, it's Gozu does pass up Draconis. They go with that signature Tremble pick on Keizu, and then even the Legionnaire, which actually is a hero here in the DreamHoN Summer Championships that we have seen quite a bit, surprisingly enough, kind of step up as more and more played.
It's the skin.
It must be. You know what? we talked about that theory before. We started with Mage Main, I think it was, with him getting that new skin. All of a sudden, he just exploded onto the scene, and sure enough, Legionnaire with the Decapitator skin, go ahead and makes him popular. Apparently, that really wouldn't surprise me. Executioner, by the way. I don't know why I keep calling Decapitator, but anyways, Forsaken Archer going to be the final pick here, though, from TTE Esports. So those trios, Silhouette, Mage Main, and Draconis, kind of consider more that the highest tier for carry heroes. All of them passed up. And Forsaken Archer, they carry of choice for TTE Sports, and there's a snap pick Wild Soul there from its Gosu. So they're going to make TTE Sports have an interesting choice now as far as their picks go. But yeah, they were confident with that Wild Soul pick right off the bat.
Yeah, Wild Soul's good. I actually just think that maybe Bubbles would have been a little bit stronger. They have a lot of heroes that need a ton of farm, basically, right now. Tremble, Magnus, Legionnaire, Wild Soul. Well, maybe not so much Wild Soul, but these top 3 definitely need a lot of farm. Most likely you're going to see this Glacius come out, although Empath would be a lot of fun to see as well. But the pick Empath, their lanes are very, very weak. I really think they need that Glacius to kind of help out in their lane phase, and they do go with the Glacius, so that's good for them. Probably going to see that Magnus Glacius bottom in the safe lane with Legionnaire in the jungle. You can expect that TTE Sports is going to contest that and go with some sort of aggressive tri-lane down there. That's my guess.
Yeah. God, you're right, though. 4 out of the 5 heroes really need a decent amount of farm here for its Gosu. Especially Magnus, early on. Of course, Legionnaire as well. He could definitely use some good early farm, so it's going to be interesting to see how its Gosu ultimately spreads all that farm throughout this game, because, again, 4 out of the 5 heroes needing some good amount. Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun. You see Sai right there kind of poking a little bit of fun at my nuts right there. Shout out to the short lane Emerald Warden. Yeah, that was, of course, yesterday's series of TDM versus Complexity. But, yeah, bad manner indeed. No, obviously, they consider, I believe at least, they're just all friends and
yeah,
at that level and everything, so...
They poke fun at each other. It's just what you do.
Of course. All in good fun, so...
Now, we actually might see a solo mid Magnus. I see Tremble walking down here. I also see Glacius walking down here. Although, one of the things that Senders likes to do is he kind of jukes the spectators and goes one way to place a ward. Probably just going to place it here right above the hard camp in the jungle, the main hard camp. And then we might actually see a Glacius Magnus lane mid. That's pretty smart, actually, considering that maybe they expect the tri-lane coming out long lane from TteS Sports. They don't want to deal with it, so they're just going to apply pressure to the Polywog in mid. Now, if that's the case, you can expect that TteS Sports is smart enough to roam around and switch up their lanes and have a Luna come and support him, that Polywog in mid. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, Magnus Glacius is definitely a strong lane. They definitely need at least level 2, if not level 3, to really get something done, though.
Yeah, of course, getting that level 2 Lava Surge. I mean, the Lava Surge, it is... As powerful as that ability is, in that mid-game stage when he has that portal key and everything, I mean, at level 1 and 2 even, it's such a short range. It really is. You need to get that leveled up as far as making that much more powerful, and of course the damage, definitely not the greatest on top of that. So, but yeah, getting that level 3 mark, it could definitely be pretty deadly here in favor if it goes to as far as making a kill happen. But again, really a lot of farm across the board here. Wild Soul, Magnus, Legionnaire, and Tremble all can use quite a bit, so that definitely is going to be interesting to see how effective its Ghost is going to be of at least spreading that efficiently. But you got to figure that at least one of those is going to be nerfed, just simply because of how they're going to have to match up here against TteS Sports. And who's it going to be is the ultimate question. But TteS Sports, they do have Slicks playing Forsaken Archer, and you think of Slicks on a carry favorite hero of his, and that is definitely it. So that's where TteS Sports, you can say they're kind of in their comfort zone there almost. And yeah, overall, again, just a very, very powerful lineup on their side. It looks like both teams are ready to go. So hopefully we can get out of this pause soon, though, and look to see where actually the lanes are going to take place. There you go. So coming out of it now. Yeah, you mentioned Glacius is heading bottom initially, and it looks like he's going to continue to head that way. So far, Glacius and Tremble going down there. Legionnaire even going to his own jungle, so we'll see.
Yeah, you mentioned kind of surprised that neither Draconis, Silhouette, Magebane were all still in the pool. They went with the Forsaken Archer. Now, I will say, just because those I've kind of labeled those as the go-to hard carries. It doesn't mean you can't pick something else. And Forsaken Archer has her own purpose. She pushes very, very strong, very, very strongly. And she also lanes much better than Silhouette and Magebane. I haven't seen Draconis enough in the lane to really determine just how effective he is in the lane, but I know that Forsaken Archer synergizes really, really well, especially with Luna Behemoth.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, of course, with that crippling volley effect. And, you got an excellent Behemoth Fissure stun to start it off, Luna on top of that, and then even the crippling volley to follow. Yeah, there's a lot of synergy to work with right there, so you're right to bring up that point. Now, you see, speaking of that trio, they are here in the Legion jungle trying to catch somebody, but as you can see, I believe that is their own courier, actually. They were trying to scout something out, but its Ghosty was quick enough to react, and sure enough, Glacius is now heading up to the top lane after placing actually an interesting ward of sight here in his own jungle. I mean, that's a very unique spot, actually. What do you make of that?
It isn't a unique spot. We'll have to see how it works. Maybe they have just assumed or saw Sender place this ward that's actually quite standard right above the Hellborn camp, Legion camp that I expected it to place. And when they decide to roam around mid, because they're going to roam mid after they notice it's a Suicide Tremble basically in the short lane. Suicide doesn't really matter if it's top or bottom. It's just whenever you're against more than two heroes. Yeah. Well, really more than one hero actually. But yeah, they can expect the roaming around, and if they respond to that in mid, then they're going to expect, well, they probably have a ward here. So Sender's is trying to do some juking out. And actually, I've never seen this, a straight-up ward just placed in that easy camp just to completely counter Legionnaire. But Legionnaire actually does go to the Hellborn camp, but at the same time, their own Hellborn small camp is actually blocked with their courier. But Legionnaire actually gets really lucky and gets a Vagabond camp. It's probably the best camp you can get. That camp alone will springboard you past level 2.
Yeah, let's see if he can make sure, though, not to kill it in the actual area so that he gets the spawn here at the minute mark. It looks like he's trying to do that, but it's going to be close, actually.
He'll get it.
It looks like, I don't know, it's going to be very close. Oh, he just barely got a Wolf Commander. That could be a little bit difficult, actually, at the lower levels, obviously, with that crit and everything. But at least he got the respawn, and is off to a great start, as he said, with that Vagabond camp at least. So, but yeah, you already see the courier blocking happening, as you mentioned, at the yellow camp, so making it a little bit more difficult at least for Legionnaire. But again, with the spawn happening, that's RNG for you, and that's just happens to work out there for Insania playing that Legionnaire. So we'll keep an eye on Insania.
And
he gets another one. Yeah,
it's the best camp. It really is.
At these early levels, definitely having the 4 spawns, all weak minions. Yeah, it's basically ideal here. for a Legionnaire. He's already level 3, in fact. So, yeah, this is actually working out very well for Insania. But you're right. I mean, investing 100 gold into getting a Ward of Sight down here in the yellow camp on the Legion side and to not even have it really affect the Legion team is definitely unfortunate here for TTE Sports.
Yeah, I don't really agree with that because it's very easy to be like, okay, well, you warded that, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, it's not the end of the world. And I definitely, I agree. I think that ward could have been better suited to give information elsewhere, maybe above you, maybe like right exactly where Legionnaire is. And actually, he's going to gank mid right now. Polywog Priest cannot do anything. Even the combo from Glacius and Magnus alone probably would have done the job, but Insane comes over there to snipe out the kill with that level 2 terrifying charge. Is it level 2? Yeah, it is. So, yeah, right there, Insania already showing that he's in the Hellborn jungle. And so basically this ward right here is completely wasted.
Well, and you talk about also where that ward could have been differently. Could have been, blocking this camp right here, but sure enough, Tremble knows that it wasn't blocked. He stacks it, and he does a pull here. So this really is working on several levels now for its Ghost as far as being very effective. And so TTE Esports has fallen behind early on here, obviously giving up the blow that's going in the middle lane. And now Tremble's farm, honestly, he's at least getting some levels. He's already level 3, actually. And he has an okay amount of creep farms. You see it's pushed up all the way to his tower. So it seems like almost sloppy play here coming up for TTE Sports. Now, Legionnaire may be in a little bit of trouble. There's an invisible behemoth right on top of him. Level 1 Luna also nearby. You do see Polywog Priest heading over, and I think Legionnaire may have saw that even and expect something's up. So he's going to kind of go a little bit back and forth. But there we go. Behemoth comes out of the Invis, and now Legionnaire realizing that they're here. In comes Polywog Priest. Oh, this is going to be difficult to escape from. He's going to try to go for a kill, so screw it. I'm going to take one of you down with me, but it's not going to happen for Insania, it looks like, and down he goes. So at least some positive news coming out there for TTE Sports.
Yeah, good roaming, and that's just why Behemoth and Luna are so strong. Their ability to roam is so amazing. I always talk about how when teams pick Demented Shaman, like say they decided to go with a Demented Shaman tri-lane down here, you can't do that with Demented Shaman. You can't roam up there and get a full HP Legionnaire out of your jungle like that. It's just too hard. So heroes like a Luna Behemoth are so very strong because they're so versatile.
Yeah, and they definitely bring that to the table. And you see Behemoth, in fact, he's going to kind of stay around this top side here. As look at how this top lane's going, by the way. Actually, kind of interesting. Plague Rider versus Wild Soul. Plague Rider is 13-7 against a Wild Soul who's 11-0, and you see right now the lane control is definitely in favor of Plague Rider by quite a bit, actually. So it seems like WTF's having a pretty good time. He's already level 5 on top of that. I would think, even soon to be level 6. He does have the highest experience per minute in the game, actually, as he gets some Little Red Booties delivered to him. So yeah, Wild Soul has kind of been doing this camp over here in the meantime. He is going to get an Entangle proc onto Behemoth. First hit right there from Boo Boo. So some nice RNG working in the favor of Wild Soul. He needs to make sure not to overcommit right here, though, as he's still going to chase, but he'll spawn Boo Boo back and go back to the lane. But yeah, Plague Rider up here. Seems like WTF's having a pretty good time up here.
Yeah, well, I definitely give Plague Rider the edge here in this lane. She's in her short lane, has the deny ability, and so is naturally going to get more experience than Zai playing that Wild Soul. And so he can constantly just spam nuke this Wild Soul every time he gets in range. And actually, Wild Soul doing a really good job harassing this Behemoth. Behemoth taking a lot of damage, trying to get that proc again. He's playing really far up. The Fisher Sun actually does come out because, say, if that wasn't Entangle, probably would have maybe even killed him. And Wild Soul, still going to continue to pull this wave, actually now pulling into the own camp from Hellborn. So that's one of the beauties of Wild Soul, is you can really effectively play safe and get farm and experience at the same time. It's a really great hero.
Oh, Legionnaire in the meantime, gonna go down here most likely. The Archer's gonna finish him off from Slicks on Forsaken Archer, puts the boom, goes the dynamite on top of it, and gets the smackdown. Now Tremble running in, though. Is a level 6, yes, no. Boar's going to be coming out. Will it be enough pressure? Magnus running over. Nice stun from Luna, but he's going to get the Lava Surge off. Look at the Courier, giving them vision the whole time, making sure Forsaken Archer cannot juke them here in the trees, and it worked out perfectly. So great response kill coming out from its Gosu, at least. So a nice kill onto Legionnaire, but at least they counter kill onto Forsaken Archer. And now KZU on Tremble, he'll gladly free farm it up here in the bottom lane in the meantime.
Yeah, and when KZU does good on Tremble, it's very, very fun to watch him. I love the way he plays him. He did just hit level 6. He's probably going to be very active with this Boris. This is how I usually see him play. Sets the mound now with Boris, because I don't think he had mana, and actually was on cooldown, nor did he have mana to set that mound down himself. So now he's going to send Boris in the mid lane, and that's a very, very good tool against especially a hero like Polywog, who really has no escape. So if you get that slow as well as that Entangle, I don't even know what it's called from Boris, but just the snare from him. Actually, Boris wants to do Kongor. A misclick there.
He's pulling Kongor. He's going to spawn a second one.
But yeah, we're going to see some roam here coming from Glacius. Glacius actually bottled up a haste rune. Going to go here, apply the slow. Tremble's pet, or Boris as we know it, is going to come in from behind. Actually, the tongue tie coming on Magnus, but the stun will follow, I'm sure. And there, the kill actually does go to Sender. So that'll be good. She'll probably have some boots coming out. Sender does have 700 gold, so that's exactly how you have to play Boris.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tremble.
Well, yeah, Tremble, a.k.a. and then obviously Boris being the pet. But yeah, that's how you both like to see it play because it is entertaining, and as you're putting it, definitely the correct way. So yeah, definitely a lot of props to KZU, as we said, though, going into this match. That is a signature hero of his. It's becoming one, and he's one of the few players, honestly, nowadays to play Tremble and play very, very well on top of that. In fact, in this tournament, I don't think I've really seen another Tremble player at least do well. So yeah, again, big props to KZU there. But also, that was kind of, I'm sure Polyball Priest Leon Black was in Skype right there going, port, but obviously no one was coming, and with no homecoming stones, that makes sense. He tried his best to delay it as long as possible, but that was just well executed there from Itsugosu, and they were going to get the kill no matter what it took. So now a 2,000 experience lead, 1,300 goal lead, and we are now only 7.5 minutes in, so definitely the better start here for Itsugosu, no doubt, as they're up also 3-2 in hero kills on top of that. Now, Forsaken Archer, how's Forsaken been doing? Yeah, that's what I thought. She actually has been doing a very good time down here at the bottom lane. So remember, she got that kill and then she died after, but she's still farming over 300 gold per minute, which right now is the top in the game. She's got a Ring of the Teacher, Steam Boots, so that's the positive news here for TT Esports, no doubt, that she is doing successful. So right now, she's on top of that chain as far as gold per minute goes. But it seems like overall things just going a little bit better for Itsugosu to start here.
Yeah, I mean, Slicks, despite him dying, you know, Slicks does have a tendency to play very aggressive, and it's very fun to watch him. But really, he is a farmer at heart. And sometimes I watch him, I'm just like, where do you get all this gold? Because he just simply knows when to farm, what camps to farm at which time. And exactly right here, like a lot of players maybe wouldn't have done this. Just go to the Ancients and expend your farm, or get your farm up just even a little bit more. And Slick does a very, very good job just constantly utilizing every part of the map to get every amount of farm he can.
Yeah, you talk about that. I mean, you see right here, the lane is pushed up by quite a bit. Now, Glacius just so happens to be nearby. You see Boris even putting himself in position to go for a gank. But as you put it, I mean, Slick just kind of has that sixth sense almost, knowing that something's up, knowing that maybe it really wouldn't be efficient to try to farm up that push-up lane. So might as well go to the Ancients with your ultimate and clean them out, which she is so effective with. So yeah, very smart play there from Slick. There's another route here at the top lane onto Behemoth as he was trying to run away. So Umzai seems to be getting some nice route favors here coming out from Boo Boo. But overall, again, Plague Rider still seems to be having a very good time. He's got Steam Boots actually already himself, and he's level 7 here, being played by WTF. So obviously has that ultimate. Now, it seems like Boo Boo, or it looks like Boo Boo at least, is going to try to finish those Ghost Marchers first here. And I know that's something you like to see on the bear as far as making him go through units and whatnot, giving him unit walking, I guess, and obviously that burst of speed. Legionnaire, let's look how insane the top lane. Yeah, the Plague is going to bounce back and forth between the bear and him, and he gets taken out. Forsaken Archer just landed the crippling volley before I unfortunately just went off of it as soon as that initiation started.
Yeah, that was a ton of damage coming out. Good setup stun there by Behemoth. Just why I love Behemoth so much. I mean, Riser was level 1 for the longest time, and granted, he is still level 3, quite far behind. But he doesn't really need levels that much to roam around and be effective. So sets up a very, very good kill. It looked very, very easy too, and that's definitely going to help TT Esports and Slick's propel his farm even further.
As I was mentioning, though, you got Legionnaire who actually nearly died there to the Catman Champion camp, but he knew what he was doing. Nice deny at the top, but in the meantime, coming out from Umza, and actually Glacius porting a Magnus from the side. They're going to catch Plague Rider right here. They don't even need an entangle. Not even going to be necessary. Nice piercing arrows followed over Forsaken Archer. Final attack. No! Not enough damage. Magnus had to have maybe 10 life right there and somehow survived. So Slicks thought he had a kill, I'm sure. Wasn't able to get it, though. Now, if it wasn't for that fissure block, he actually may have been able to kind of push up another auto attack, but the fissure block, I think, kind of screwed things up, too. Not that that's Behemoth's fault, necessarily, but just kind of unfortunate. And while that was happening, the bottom tower also actually got pushed by KZU on Tremble. So, man, KZU on Tremble, as you said, when he does good, he does really, really good, and also very, very fun to watch. And so far, now 350 gold per minute. He has overtaken as the top farm of the game, and is looking very strong here early on for Itsugosu.
Yeah, that was. I was watching that. Slicks played that really, really well. It's so unfortunate. I think Magnus led with like 9 HP, so just barely escaped. And Magnus does go for the early Ghost Marchers. I generally have always been a fan of Ghost Marchers on Magnus. I think it just gives you that little extra oomph in trying to chase somebody, and it almost feels like it extends the range of your stun. So I think it's a very strong pickup, and it's going to make things a little bit more aggressive from the side of Legion. And yeah, another person we haven't talked too much about is Legionnaire. I mean, he did mention he almost died in Catman, but his farm is actually quite good considering he's 1 and 2. He's over 300 gold per minute. He's got the boots. He's got his helmet of the Black Legion, another 600 gold saved up. And Keizu, obviously you mentioned, doing very, very well. He's got the steam boots as well as the helmet of the Black Legion. Very, very tanky at this point. He's just going to continue applying pressure to this bottom lane. That's all he has to really do right now. And if he can set up a gank with Boris, and also don't forget that Boris can go somewhere else on the map, and he can throw down a mound on one side of the map, and Keizu, playing that Tremble, can just pour to it. So it's very, very good in the sense that you can be mobile globally.
Yeah, exactly. And you see right here, he's actually going to go on a Plague Hunter. Plague Hunter does have a Plague, but there's a lot of minions nearby. He's going to try to port out. It ain't going to happen, though. They'll find a lot of attack from Keizu. Obviously, Glacius being there definitely helped, and probably guaranteed the kill, in fact, as that port may have happened. But very well played again, coming out from its Gosu, as they take out Plague Rider, and they're going to continue to push, actually. So, I mean, you talked about that. Obviously, Tremble can be a very mobile hero in the sense of sending force somewhere, putting the mountain, and then porting to it. But hey, if you're pushing a lane and you're making the push work, you might as well stay in that lane and continue to do so. Now, he's going to get blocked off right here. Port's going to come in from Polywire Priest, actually getting himself trapped right there initially because of the Fissure Stone and the creep wave. But they are going to defend the tower. But in the meantime, at the top lane, you have Magnus and a Wild Soul aggressively pushing that top tower, and they get another tower kill. That's the second of the game here. A lot of pressure being put out. They already have a 7,000 gold lead, and even a 6,300 experience lead. I mean, this is actually just very strong lead here for its Gosu right now. Really slicks on Forsaken Archer is the only one having a pretty good time on TteS Sports. After that, it drops off quite a bit.
I'm surprised their gold lead is actually this strong. I mean, they did just get 2 towers, but that's it. It's not like they've pushed a ton of it's not like they have a huge pushing lineup where the gold lead's only coming from towers. They only have 2 towers down. They're just massively farming or out farming this Hellborn team, and they're doing a really good job at it. I did want to criticize something Keizu did. It's kind of small, and they ended up getting the kill anyway. But when Plague Rider was porting out there, gave the idea that there was no help coming whatsoever. And it was actually kind of close, and he was attacking the whole time on strength steam boots. And sometimes, I mean, it didn't matter right then, but in closer calls, that actually could be the difference maker. Attacking with that plus 10 damage, as well as the minor attack speed buff that you do get from having agility boots.
You are being picky, sir.
I just gotta say.
No, those are just those fine things, like we always say. You know, those small things that can definitely add up. Like you said, he did end up getting the kill. It was very, very close, though. So if he poured it out, then obviously that would have been even more validity to your point. And I'm sure it has happened before, for that matter. So yeah, just another kind of small thing to keep in mind if you are trying to focus somebody down or burst them down somehow. Make sure those steam boots are set to the appropriate stat to give you the plus damage, as you put it. So middle push, though, coming in for the Hellborn team. They're trying to get in their towers pushed in. They want to get their second tower kill of the game here, and they're going to try to make it happen in the middle lane. You got Forsaken Archer in the front line. She's level 10. She's got a Mystic Vestments picked up as well. On top of 1,700 gold, there's the Eruption started from Magnus coming out. Are they going to be able to counter this? The Plague who follows, and Magnus will fall on top of that. Was also Legionnaire getting picked off. What return damage coming out for the Hellborn team. Now, Forsaken Archer did end up getting picked off. But again, great counter kills happening as Glacius also did fall. Now, the wards are just out of the tower range, but it doesn't matter. This tower is still going to fall in favor of TteS Sports. So TteS Sports, they showed a lot of their team fight potential right there, that's for sure.
Well, they had it was basically 5v3, and yeah, they did use all their ultimates, and it did a lot of damage. The wards from Leon Black, the Plague ultimate did so much damage, and the FA ultimate, before she died. All those ultimates was just all 5 of those heroes did so much damage. At the same time, though, you got Zai pushing up the top lane and Tremble farming in the bot. Now, they weren't able to get the tower, but Zai did put a lot of pressure on the top tower, got it less than half HP down. So, I think that's a fair trade. Well, no, they definitely got the better trade on TteS Sports, but I was expecting the Golden Experience lead to really dip down, but it really didn't. I mean, we still got 5,500 gold and about 7K experience lead still for still for its Gosu. So, things are still looking good for them. I mean, even if you just look at the numbers on the levels, you got 10, 11, 7, 10, 10, and TteS Sports. Actually, action coming up at the top. Magnus comes in with a stun. The Entangle actually gets, I think, first hit there. So RNG coming out still in favor of Zai. It seems like he gets very lucky with these Entangles.
He's it's been happening quite a bit this game, and I think you're right. I mean, it's just from he does play this hero every now and then, and it seems like he just he knows how to get those entangles off. Again, it's supposed to be RNG, but it just seems like with this guy, He knows how to make it work. Now, Boo Boo nearly dying right there, actually. That was very close. Only has 80 life, so he needs to be careful. Obviously, you can respawn him, but you don't want to have to use a cooldown if you don't have to. It's fairly long, and that can put yourself in a dangerous spot. So he's just going to fall back with the team. Obviously, the tower does stay alive, but they got the kill. They got what they came for, and now they're going to fall back. But on that note, that does show you, of course, Magnus, which I believe he had in the previous fight as well. He has a portal key here. So obviously that's huge for the Legion team. Oh, but at the bottom lane, Forsaken Archer in a lot of trouble. In comes a charging Legionnaire. So Forsaken Archer trying to juke in the woods, but that was not going to be happening as Legionnaire was just charging that whole time and takes her out. Legionnaire already has a Soul's Bulwark finish, by the way, and another 1,100 gold saved up. So not even rushing the portal key, not even necessary here, though. Wild's in the meantime in the middle lane getting locked down. Actually, he is in his ulti form. Magnus puts a stun out, and now Plague on chasing as well as Behemoth. Another fidget stun in 5 seconds, but the portal key from Magnus going to be fine. Boo Boo will end up going down right there as the Parathil Snipe will take him out, but you see Wild's still going, resurrecting him, of course. Yeah, the cooldown now goes on for 120 seconds. So again, it's Ghost. The lead just keeps getting bigger and better. And it almost seems like TTE Esports, I mean, it seems like they're running out of options here as far as what to do.
I just think, yeah, they're getting overpowered. At first I kind of questioned the lineup from Legion, but from Miss Gosu, but it seems to be working out really well. And you got to think about at the very beginning of the game too. I mean, Legionnaire had quite a good jungle at the beginning. Again, RNG factor coming out. He did get some good spawns, but at the same time, I mean, you got it. This is when mind games come back into play yet again. It's like if you really look at their lineup, okay, they're either going to have Magnus mid or bottom. Either way, if we send 3 bottom, we're going to crush them. So what are they going to do? They can't put Legionnaire in their own jungle because that would be just suicide. So they're most likely going to put Legionnaire in our jungle. They even knew that or suspected that because they had their own courier blocking the medium or the small camp right there. So I think that investing that ward there in the It's Gosu's small camp was just a little much, and I think they could have done a little bit more to run the Legionnaire early on. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, again, a big thing about this Legion team was how were they going to farm with 4 heroes really needing a good amount of farm early on in this game especially. But it happened, man. I mean, not only did it happen, but it happened very well. And with them all spreading out, each individually farming their own lane, including Legionnaire farming his own jungle, again, every single one actually did it effectively. The fact that all 4 of them are at least 300 gold per minute or higher, the fact that all 4 of them are at least level 11 or 12, which is higher level than anyone on TTE Esports, or at least equal with them. I mean, that just goes to show you, we really got to just give credit to It's Gosu for playing it so freaking well, as the stats kind of reflect that. Now, TTE Esports, you can't argue, you know, maybe they haven't been playing the greatest and kind of been looking like a different TTE Esports team, but I think it is what I was saying, though, first. I mean, It's Gosu has really played this great as when it comes down to the strategy, and because of it executing well, that they have a huge lead here now. And for TTE Esports, I mean, obviously they're still sticking in the game for now. It's only 19.5 minutes in, so you would like to think that they're going to still stay in the game. But, oh, Magnus going to stand right here on a Polywire Priest with a level 2 eruption by himself. Does the damage. Glacius did come with the Tender Blast at the last second, but really that was a lot for Magnus. Glacial downpour off to the side. Wow. Plague is going to bounce onto Magnus in the background, but the Creep Wave's there to help absorb it. In comes Legionnaire with a taunt onto Plague. But Glacius did end up getting picked up by Legionnaire. He don't give 2 shits. He's going to stand his ground. Magnus stuns back in. In comes Trombonona. Magnus will fall, but at what cost right here? Forsaken Archer's going to get decapitated as a level 2 ultimate from Legionnaire. 450 life or less, you will be dead. And they're also going to push the tower. So honestly, for TTE Esports, it really is getting to a point of, I hate to say it, but maybe you got to think about Game 2 now.
Yeah, and I feel like Zai bought something. He doesn't have sort of the high on him or his Boo Boo, but he had a lot of gold investment. I feel like he bought it. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this game is not necessarily TTE Esports not playing well. It's more of It's Gosu's really bringing something to the table here. They're doing something very well. They're roaming around. They're not missing spells, they're not missing opportunities, and they're playing well as a team. And I really like that. Again, I like the Tremble. They seem to play it really well. You know, KZ, big props to him. And I was going to mention one more thing. Oh, I did want to say one thing, though. I mean, again, It's Gosu's playing very well. I think it's more of that aspect. But I see a lot of teams, too, when we do have the tri-lane bottom against one, is I feel like they leave it maybe a little bit too early. I feel like they could have applied a little bit more pressure to Tremble before actually leaving Forsaken alone on his own. Maybe get a kill out of it first and then go somewhere elsewhere. Give her a very sizable lead before actually leaving her on her own.
Well, yeah, I mean that's definitely a great point to bring up. But I mean that also goes back to the fact that they didn't block the pole camp.
Exactly.
Instead, they blocked the yellow camp.
Exactly.
And that allowed Tremble to gain back lane control and not only stay alive, but he got a lot of farm out of that. He got the levels. So, yeah, it's really, when you think about it, I think that and then the Legionnaire situation where sure some RNG happened to be in his favor, but he was, for the most part, able to get free reign as well in the jungle, and it just worked out for those purposes there, because of those examples there. So, yeah, again, it's Gosu. It really just comes down to playing very well themselves, but obviously the worst, some very questionable decisions that came out from TT Esports at the same time. Now, I think the only saving grace here for TT Esports is the fact that, one, Slicks is still somehow managing an okay, pretty a solid farm, actually, for the fact that he's died 4 times now and how struggling his team seems to be. But he's sitting at just about that 300 gold per minute. He actually went a Whispering Helm first, and I would think now, with, of course, that Shrunken Head is going to be in the works. But they do have a lot of level 2 ultimates. They got Plague Rider, they got Polywalk Priest, they got Forsaken Archer. This is an awesome team fight team. They have a lot of AoE synergy. So if they somehow to catch its Gosu, kind of playing a little bit too cocky, a little bit too aggressive, clumped up, they can win a fight and pull themselves in this somewhat. But obviously that's a lot easier said than done, so we'll see.
Right. You did a good job of outlining the signs of life here for TT Esports, and I think the biggest one too is Behemoth is about 100 gold away from his portal key.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so I feel like that's going to be the difference maker as far as TT Esports having a chance to get back in this game. You mentioned there's a lot of great ultimates coming out from the Hellborn side. 4 of those heroes have just huge teamfight presence with their ultimates. And now with Behemoth 1 creep away from his portal key, hopefully he gets it in the next creep and doesn't miss it, because there is a fight of Bruin up top. Can he get it? He did get it, so he's going to go back right now and buy it. But unfortunately, the fight has already begun. Insania just decapitates WTF, but a lot of damage coming out from Slicks, as well as those wards. The Polywall Grip comes on the Glacius. He dies. But actually, the Mock of Brilliance is up on Boo Boo, so a lot of damage coming out from that. The Power Throw going to take Boo Boo quite low to life. But that was a good defense posed out by TT Esports, despite the fact that Behemoth wasn't even there.
Its Gosu is very fortunate that Plague did not get off right there. If that Plague got off, that could have been overwhelming for TT Esports. But like you said, they were still able to hold that off without a Plague and without a Portal Key Behemoth now. So that goes exactly to what I was just talking about. I mean, team fight potential is definitely there in favor of TT Esports. So if it's Gosu, once again, if they get a little bit cocky, now you can tell TT Esports, they were actually baiting that the whole time. Plague Rider was farming the lane, but they had 3 heroes just sitting here behind the tower waiting for that jump to happen. They knew it was coming, and still, unfortunately, they weren't able to allow Plague Rider to get off the Plague. So again, a little bit unfortunate there, but they held off the tower push, at least initially. It is going to be pushed here, looks like, by Wild Soul. And Vulnerability is even going to be used, and Behemoth does have the Portal Key, remember, so if he wants to jump in an ult, he can definitely do so, but the tower goes down. They say it's not worth it. Probably can agree with that, and it's Gosu walking now even a bigger gold lead as a result. But Slicks did stay alive throughout all that, his farm going up as a result. He's actually getting very close now to his Shrunken Head, which will obviously be another very good pickup for them. And yeah, so I mean, really, it's TT Esports. You can definitely respect the fact that they stayed in this game, because they by all means still have actually a chance, again, as we saw right there. So if you're It's Gosu, on the other hand, you need to make sure not to be overconfident, not to be too cocky about the situation, and realize the power that they actually do have still.
Yeah, I mean, they're not out of it just yet. Slicks is close, as you mentioned, that Shrunken Head. But then I look at the numbers, and 14K gold, it's bad, yeah, but it's not over. 10K experience, yeah, but then I look at it, Insania and Keizu, they're at 440 and 480 gold per minute. That's so much. Yeah. And then even Zai, he has his core items. He's got all the items I love to see on Wild Soul. The Striders, the Vestments, and the TP. And then really core items with the Mock of Brilliance and Ghost Marchers and his Bear. He's got it all. I mean, everything else after that is pretty much luxury.
So Idol just finished on Legionnaire.
Oh, wow. That's a big pickup as well, considering so much magic damage coming out from that Plague Goo, as you mentioned, and the Behemoth ulti. Actually, pretty much everything over here, until Forsaken Archer gets some DPS items, which I suspect is not going to be anytime soon. So things are looking just up and up and up for It's Gosu.
Yeah, so the Barrier Idol and then the Shrunken Head so far finished on Tremble. That's definitely big deal that TT Sports will have to deal with. But again, that's just what's going to happen naturally. You're going to be down by 16,000 gold, only 25, really 26 minutes into this game. You're going to have to deal against those items. Obviously, that's what just makes it that much more difficult naturally. And unfortunate for them, but Shrunken Head finished on Forsaken Archer, so again, trying to keep positive here for TT Esports that there actually still is a chance, because honestly there is, but it is going to be very difficult, to say the least, to actually come back. And I do like what TteS is doing at the same time. I mean, they aren't being too confident. That's the biggest thing we keep stressing. They can't just try to act like that they could just overwhelm them and Zerg into the base, because they really can't. I mean, this is a strong teamfight team, and it seems like they're very aware of that. So what best to do if you can't Zerg the base? You know, sit back and farm some more, get even bigger and better, and they're doing that. You mentioned the GPM; it's just getting ridiculous. Really, on 4 or 3 heroes now, over 400 gold per minute, and then you have a Magnus who's sitting around that 300 GPM mark. So, yeah, all across the board, it's just looking very, very good for TteS. And if you're TT Esports, you also need to keep playing passive to the point of you can't get picked off, because you lose one of those really 4 heroes that are so powerful in those team fights, then there's a good chance that you're not going to be winning those team fights in the end. So you need to be very careful, and you can tell they're playing very passive as a result of that too. Yeah,
and I mentioned this yesterday, and I really think that TteS is actually ready to push into the base. They got that barrier idol up. They're up a very sizable golding now, and you know, a lot of the smarter teams will, even though it seems like you can kill heroes very, very easily and you're up a substantial amount, they will wait until they're up even further. They don't want to take any risks pushing up into that high ground. And that's what smart teams will do. But I think that's what TteS is really doing. They're extending their lead. They're farming out the jungle of TT Esports and just getting way more farm than them right now. And they're just going to wait until they feel like they have enough items. Maybe they're waiting for a Shrunken Head on Magnus. I don't know for sure. But they do have also the Hellflower was just picked up on Tremble. And that's a very, very good pickup, especially against a hero that has a Shrunken Head ready to go like FA. You can catch her off guard and get that Hellflower on her before she activates that Shrunken Head. It is GG.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right now they're just completely extending their lead. They're really farming everything. They were farming the top lane. They're farming the bottom lane. They're farming mid. Their own jungle, the Ancients. They can go. They have access to the to TT Esports jungle if they want, because TT Esports just can't go there. They really have they have literally no wards down or no sight at all. It's all controlled by TteS. So TteS can take advantage of that and just completely extend their lead even more.
Yeah, looking all across the map, I mean, it is pretty ridiculous the control right now that TteS has of the map, and really how passive TT Esports is forced to play. I mean, you see Kongor just dropping right here, and they literally, even if they, well, I mean, if they want, if they, because again, they do have a great AoE synergy team, so honestly, if they caught TteS here at the Kongor pit kind of clumped up, that could actually be prime spot for them. But I don't even know if they know it's actually even going on. There is no vision from them, as you just pointed out, from TT Esports. So this Kongor kill is going to happen no matter what, and it's going to probably, who's the token left to go down? I'm just curious. It is going to go to Tremble, as Keizu's the one to pick it up. So he's level 16 now. He's got his Hellflower finished. I mean, it just keeps getting bigger and better here for TteS. And you know, again, kind of staying on that point once again about what TteS is doing here, of not just being cocky about it and just zerging into the base. You know, being a fan of esports in general, obviously StarCraft 2, very, very popular. I do find myself watching that every now and then. And, of course, one of the most popular casters are TteS. He says this all the time, and so kind of take his words as, what's the best thing to do when you're ahead? Well, get further ahead.
Right.
And a lot of StarCraft 2 players do the same thing, and, you know, you could definitely vouch that that works here as well. So TteS is really kind of just doing that. If you're ahead, why not get further ahead? You don't necessarily need to end the game right then and there. So, yeah, you can definitely appreciate what TteS is doing here. Obviously, this is giving some signs of life here for TT Esports to try to come back, but because of that map control, because of the push, all they're resorting to is sitting as a team and farming the creep wave as they push up. I mean, this has literally got to be the most boring thing right now for TT Esports, but it's what's necessary to give them any chance here.
Right, and I completely agree with you. And also even watching some StarCraft streamers myself, is Day9 will say actually the same exact thing, is what's better to do, or what's better than just being ahead is getting further ahead, using that lead to get an even further lead. And that's what they're doing right now. They were, basically nothing has happened for the last 4 minutes or so, and at that time they were, I think, up about 10k gold and 7k experience, and now they've almost doubled that by doing nothing. They're just controlling the map and out-farming the other team. And there's the pickup from Zai I'd like to see. That's the Thunderclaw on Wild Soul himself.
On himself, yeah.
And even the Mock abilities himself. I'm sure he'll switch that up though, because that really doesn't do well. If he does decide to go Rambo on himself, and I guess that makes sense, but I'd rather see it on the bear. But I think they're ready now. They have pushed up. They got a token. They got a 20k gold lead. I think they're ready to actually push up into the high ground.
Yeah, it's at a point. It does get to a point where it's like, okay, well, we got to actually finally push into the base. I mean, there is that one point, so you might as well choose now, right? But they are kind of grouped up here, all 5 of them, so kind of being patient with it. Like I said, ideally what they're going to try to wait for is maybe try to get somebody over in the Hellborn side overextending just a little bit, trying to get that one last creep kill or trying to scout things out a little bit and then make them pay for it. And you see right here, it's kind of happening. I mean, Forsaken Archer is pushing out a little bit. She is going. In fact, the Hellborn team going to jump. Actually, they're jumping to Tremble off to the side. The War Trap goes down. The piercing arrows and Tremble will fall. Now he does have the token alive. Magnus counters though with an eruption instead of his own. Polywalk Priest will go down here in the meantime. You see Tremble though coming back up. Shrunken Heads are activated all across the board, and the Hellborn team is in full retreat mode now. Behemoth is getting locked down, and Behemoth will fall before he even can portal key ulti. Plague Runner doesn't even get off the Plague Goo, and you see Aluna and Polywalk Priest and Forsaken Archer just back in the base now. It looks like no buybacks are happening. So I don't know. I love that idea, obviously, but they used a lot of resources just to kill a token alive Tremble, and now they're going to get their top base pushed in here. And actually, Magnus stuns, and a great stun, lined up stun. In comes Legionnaire. Cannot get the taunt off, though, so they'll actually be able to get away. That was a little bit delayed there from Insania, but they're going to be able to push the racks, and I don't think the Hellborn team can stop this, especially they need at least Behemoth or Plague Rider up. So these top racks are going to fall here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I actually agree. I really like the idea, but you simply can't do that against the Token of Life. You really can't. If he didn't have the Token of Life, that would have been a one fight, honestly. But that's how important Kongor is in these games. It's extremely important. But, yeah, I agree with the idea yet again. But you can't, again, you just cannot do that against a Token of Life. It really makes everything you do, all your spells used on that hero, just completely futile. So that's very unfortunate. Now the top racks are gone, and even more sizable lead coming out for its Ghost, 24k, 18k experience. You know, things are just continuing to just look so good for them. 525 gold per minute on that Tremble. He's got about 5k gold saved up. And, yeah, I just don't really see at this point now, especially with the racks gone, how TteS Sports can really get back into this game. I mean, FA is not going to out-farm. Actually, FA could farm very, very quickly, but this is not a one-man show. You're going to have a lot of farm on a lot of those different heroes, and really, FA is the closest thing to late game you have on that team. On the Legion side, however, you got late game in Wild Soul, Tremble, Legionnaire, even Magnus offers quite a bit to the late game. And Glacius is really good with that support. You know, that Glacial Downpour does a sizable amount of damage. So, I really just think it's kind of impossible at this point for TteS Sports to bounce back into this game. It'll be really, really hard if so.
Yeah, again, they still have that team fight, and on that note, I mean, they got a level 3 ultimate now from Forsaken Archer, so maybe getting your level 3 ultis on Plague Rider and I guess Polywalk Priest would be the next one in line. That could be your really only chance here, but it is, especially after what just happened there. Now they have to deal with that top racks being down, so the top lane constantly going to be pushed in, and you know, I always thought for the longest time, I'm not afraid to admit, I always thought for the longest time that this could actually be seen as a good thing for a team, because now the lane's being pushed up so they get to constantly farm it, but what I wasn't aware of for the longest time is that it actually doesn't give you as much gold as a regular creeps would, and again, I know I probably am still not the only one out there that doesn't know that, so there you go, some fun information there but obviously taking the risk that people are going to call me an idiot, but hey, you know what, we all learn it someday, so... but that is obviously a downside as well of having those creeps pushed in. So you get less gold from farming it. Now, granted, Forsaken Archer, of course, going to go up here and farm it as much as possible, but still not nearly as much. So I really don't know what else to say. Look at White Talbot's score, by the way. Now, that's something to point out. 0-10. Luna has managed not to die and has somehow pulled off 10 assists as well. So... all the credit in the world to White Talbot right there. That's MVP status on his side. But Wingbow, I believe I just saw purchased by Tremble, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if things weren't bad enough already.
Yeah, that's really, really, really strong pickup. I mean, Tremble's going to be doing so much damage. The snare on top of that. And, by the way, good micro from Keizu. I watched him that last fight. And as he was able to get out of the wards, he's holding a double damage, by the way, right now in the bottle. But as he was able to get out of those wards after he resurrected, a good ward trap coming out from Leon Black. He immediately spawned his Boris there and was able to get the snare onto Plague Rider, and just good overall micro from Keizu, and I think you really have to have that when you're playing a hero like Tremble.
Oh, of course, yeah. That Boris is very, very useful tool for the hero. And you could argue what really helps make the hero and why you would pick him up is because of that Boris. So Yeah, again, KZ, this is definitely one of more of his specialist heroes, as we've been seeing more and more lately, especially in these DreamHoN Summer Championships. So it is no surprise at the same time to see him playing it well, but they're definitely grouping up here at the bottom lane, and they're making a statement of, you either stop us here or this game is 100% over. Barrier Idol is going to be activated, and in comes a push. Double damage Tremble, as you said, and look at the tower just fall to pieces. So what will the Hellborn team do? Here we go. The Legionnaire jumps into Behemoth, though, in the background. That's going to be his eruption from Magnus going off in the foreground as well. Storm Spirit using the Polywar Priest, keeping him alive for now. The Plague is bouncing around. Magnus falls. Glacier is still alive in the background. And there's a Tremble with a Shark and locking down for a second after, and nothing he could do. Luna's just going to run away. Got Polywar Priest sitting back on Plague Rider as well. Behemoth, yet I don't think Behemoth got one Portal Key ultimate off that whole game. He had the Portal Key for such a long time, but that's where you got to give props once again to TteS. They made sure to not let him do so, and that was another case of it right there, as Insania on the Legionnaire initiated him first, so he literally did nothing that fight. I don't even think he got a fissure stun, honestly, in that last fight. So overall, though, again, TteS, fantastic play by them. They somehow needed four heroes to get good farm early on, and they somehow managed to pull it off against TTE Sports, so they take game one.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned the Behemoth. I mean, at that point, though, there's really not that much he could do. All the heroes, except for maybe even Glacius, but even then Glacius had a decent amount of farm, were just too damn tanky. And he would have to have the absolute perfect ultimate to get any kind of damage done. But on top of that, you got a bear that's in your face, too, with that Maka Brilliance. It makes it so hard to even get your Portal Key off. But really, really well played. Like you mentioned, was it TteS playing well, or TTE Sports not necessarily looking up to their full potential? But I think it's more of the former, and TteS just simply really, really played well that game.
Yeah. Yeah, they looked very good, and it almost worries me a little bit for TTE Sports, because that's an TteS team. You know, we like to say, especially with a team like TteS, it seems like they're a team that's kind of on and off a lot of the time. Today, they're definitely on, I mean, especially with that performance right there after Game 1. And TTE Sports, again, they're coming off that 2-0 loss, of course, to Complexity. Sure, they just defeated Pikachu in what was, again, a very, very crazy Game 1, apparently. It lasted 80 or 90 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. And
obviously, that's got to be draining. You know, this hatch has been back-to-back-to-back days here, especially with this finals portion of the event. So you got to wonder if maybe that's taking a little bit of a toll on them. But TteS, again, they looked very good in Game number 1. So you got to wonder a little bit, how is TTE Sports going to respond right there? Because so many things went right for TteS. You know, how do you deal with that if you're TTE Sports in Game number 2? So, but with that said, guys, we are going to take a quick break right here. Of course, once again, it is a best out of 3. So are we going to see that Game 3, or will TteS look to sweep this series 2-0? Stay tuned, guys. Once again, on Breaking CBK. Joining me is Terrell Mador. We'll be right back.